let's get to Marcus Rashford, who's been dropped for Manchester United's last 2 games. And he's also revealed that he wants a new challenge. We'll wait to see if he's going to be involved against Bournemouth this afternoon. But Lisa, why do you think he wants this new challenge? And I want to put 2 in 1 here, because is he conducting himself correctly as well, do you feel, at the moment? Because a lot of people have spoken about the timing of this interview that came out.
I don't think that he's conducting himself well, not just because of the timing of that interview. I think the way fans want to see how committed you are to your club and to your responsibilities is what you do on the pitch, is how you deal with training sessions, how you interact with your teammates, and how you basically view yourself as a representative of any football club, in this case, for Rashford, Manchester United, which is his boyhood team, so it should mean more. Yet where people are hearing about Rashford's commitment or his love for the club, and where it's being illustrated is on Twitter, him coming out with statements, or that interview with Henry Winter where he talks about how much he loves the club. There was that Players Tribune article about don't ever question my commitment to United. And that's amid him continuously breaking the rules at the club. So how are we not allowed to question your commitment where we're seeing that, you're not calling in ill to training when actually you've been on nights out in Belfast? You're across 2 managers now, not conducting yourself in a good manner around the training pitch and stuff. So both of them flag it. And the timing of that interview is disappointing because the managers made a statement. He's dropped Rashford and Garnacho. The next day, they actually train very well. So immediately, Amarim's thinking, okay, this is a good handling of the situation. Rashford's then ill on the Monday, so doesn't train, and then does this interview on the Tuesday where he says he's ready for a new challenge. Now, you think if this club means so much to you, if this is all you want, and this is all you care about, you want to actually prove your manager that this is everything to me. You've just got here. This is my life. This is my soul. This is my heart. And yet actually what he's done is say, no, I'm done with it. I want to go elsewhere. I can understand why he's disillusioned, because, United hasn't been an environment of excellence in recent history. But he is paid so well. He's the reference point of this team. He should be holding himself much better than he does. And, one of the things is, in the article he did for the Players Tribune, he seemed to suggest that because of his campaign for free school meals, that's why he gets so much criticism. And actually, I think a lot of people, including myself, have backed off criticizing him for a long, long time because he had goodwill based on those actions.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we can look at some stats, actually, which shows he's scored in a single season. The most he scored in a single season, 17. He's reached double figures on 4 occasions. Jamie Carragher says we sort of talk about Rashford too much. He's not that good a player, comparing him to the likes of Becks and so on and so forth. So these were great players. He's not that good a player. Is that fair, though? I mean, what do you think, Darren, about the situation?
Well, listen, all of us are entitled to our opinions. Jamie obviously is entitled to his. I think Rashford's a fantastic player. I can only counter, you can really counter player to player. So I'll offer you to maybe respond to Jamie. Ian Wright, who said he joined Arsenal when he was 28 years of age, a year older than Rashford. And he obviously established himself as a legend at that football club. This might be one of the few areas where we disagree, because I think we are in a different era now to the ones where players have to watch other people opining on them at home and not have a view themselves. Jadon Sancho was in a very similar situation to Marcus Rashford, where he saw Erik ten Hag represent him in a way that he didn't think was fair to him. So he decided to speak up for himself, and then he decided to be the master of his own destiny. He went to Dortmund and he helped that club to the Champions League, and then he went to Chelsea, where he's helping that side to compete for the title, all the while United are in a mess. And I think as far as Rashford is concerned, he has decided to take it away from everybody else and say, OK, I sit here, I try to do something good, you kill me. I try to speak up for myself, you kill me. Now I'll just take a decision for myself. And I think that when there are other players, I said this to Rob last week, when there are other players at Manchester United like Antony, on whom the expenditure is scandalous in relation to the return, Harry Maguire, who has never been an £85 million player, Casemiro has been a huge drain on the club and hasn't adequately responded to the criticism, that very legitimate criticism from Jamie Carragher in relation to his performances since he arrived at the club, and other players. To hammer Marcus Rashford, to my mind, just does not seem proportionate. Now, when I say that, just one last part, just one more part, one last point. I do get the passion, the levels of passion that there are in relation to Rashford. I do get that some people, they see what has happened and that drop-off in terms of the numbers. I get all of that. I think as far as Rashford is concerned, we've seen it with other players as well. They get to it, not just footballers, but sports people. They lose their form. It happens. We've seen it happen before. It is possible for that to happen, but it is also possible to get it back with patience and time. Yeah, and United don't have that. But I feel, as with other players that have been at Manchester United, one player is the lightning rod for all of the problems that exist at Manchester United. I'll be honest with you, I'll be really straight. The other night when they lost to Spurs, I thought to myself, I'm glad he's nowhere near that. Because if he were playing, he would be the person around whose neck this situation would be hung. And I think as far as he's concerned, I said this to you on the show before, I feel he needs to be happy. He needs to go somewhere where he's appreciated, where he's not the person who's at the forefront every time something goes wrong. There are places. Okay. It isn't just...
Who'll come in from him?
I think other clubs will come in for him.
Just a few points before we get on that. You mentioned Harry Maguire as an example of somebody who wasn't worth the fee that paid for him. But Harry Maguire has received unreal levels of criticism and abuse that was so bad that his family were getting death threats and stuff. And Harry Maguire...
Not from people in studio. A lot, and I've said this on the show before, a lot of the people who sat in studio, ex-players, ex-United players, ex-players in general, it was all football related. None of it, and it was all about... None of it was about his
Harry Maguire's not reporting ill for training while he's been on benders. That's the...
But you
they're
keep
not
saying
doing
benders, plural. He went away to Ireland. It was one evening. There is nothing whatsoever to suggest
it was the Manchester, after defeat in the Manchester derby. There was another night at China White. There is going to Vegas. There's a huge litany of things. A lot of it...
But the word bendings has a very specific narrative around it. It suggests that he is conducting himself in a way that is not befitting of a sportsman. Breaking rules and the word benders are two different things, and I think that's not fair to him.
Did you see the reporting of what happened in Belfast?
I saw the reporting, of course I did. I'm assistant editor of a newspaper.
Yes,
I saw all of it.
How else would you frame that situation?
But also, what I counterbalance is, have we got a situation where there is a player that actually has lost his way a little bit, lost his love of the game, and perhaps needs a really big arm around him, and actually to get him back to his best, rather than perhaps that you're talking. I'm trying to see both sides of this argument. You know, perhaps the constant attack that perhaps Marcus Rashford feels he's under, which actually isn't helping him.
Look, Melissa's right to point out to rules that have been broken, all right? And there is no argument from me in terms of that. All I'm saying is all of those things are part of a general picture of a player who I still think there is still a good player there who has fallen out of love. It might well be that everybody's right, and including Rashford, and that he needs that move away. But I just think that nothing is gained by continually hammering him.
I think actually Rashford needs, you know, the way you're backing him, Rashford needs to come out and back himself with those performances.